Hello, and welcome back to the Author Roundup, a special segment of the Book Connection Show where we meet up and coming indie authors and talk to them about their recently released books. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Book Connection Show. Again, I am Ray Walters. We're thrilled to welcome back an esteemed guest who joined us previously to discuss her captivating book, Kevin and Catherine in the Next Lifetime. Today, she's here to share insights about her latest work, Shilpa's Blue Crayon. Our guest is a retired university professor and high level public administrator who has taught technical writing and authored several documents in the pursuit of funding initiatives for various communities. Now, in her retirement, which I know she is enjoying, she has found a new passion for writing interracial romance novels that delve into the complexities of love across boundaries, races, societies, and cultures. Please join me in welcoming Crystal Charlotte Lane. Hi, Cece. Welcome back to the Book Connection Show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it. And as I indicated before, if I may, Kevin and Catherine, the first book, received an American Writers Award. Uh,
Congratulations.
yeah, it's for finalists. I didn't get Book of the Year, but to receive an award for finalists for that love story is very rewarding. So now I'm an award-winning author. Who knew? And I also like to mention the theme song for that book in the next lifetime, which you played the last time by Michael Raymond. It's doing pretty good, and I really think that's a beautiful song to coincide with the book. But thank you again. Thank you, Ray.
Should be thanking you. It just feels like yesterday. When was it? Has time gone by so fast since we
Well,
had that conversation?
it seems like it. It seems like it's gone by really fast, but it's been a while. It's been a while.
And I can see that you're enjoying everything that's happening so far, Cece.
I am. I am. And I'm very grateful that, people seem to enjoy the book. I do get a lot of feedback on both of these books. So I'm very, very grateful. I love these stories.
Cece, speaking of the previous conversation we had, we talked about Kevin and Catherine in the next lifetime. If you remember, we explored the complexities of again love across societal and racial boundaries, as well as the spiritual depth of connections. Now, your new book, Shilpa's Blue Crayon, seems to carry similar threads of spirituality,
It does.
love, and deep interpersonal dynamics. But this time you're adding elements of mystery and thrill. So my question here is, how did your experiences in writing the first book influence your approach to crafting this new layered narrative?
Well, as you know, they're the same when it comes to the interracial romance, white man, black woman.
Mm,
They're the same when it comes to the mystical and magic of love and the
mhm,
spiritual connection between that and the physical, the sex and all of that, the spiciness of it. But what's different with this book, and even though Kevin and Catherine took you on a roller coaster ride of mystery and suspense, this book has the element of danger. It is a mystery. It is a thriller. There's lots of suspense that she's navigating between these two worlds. And what's going on and how does it end? And it was difficult at first to figure out how to do the navigation, but I knew where I wanted to end. And once I figured that out, it just kept going. So, in addition to the romance and the mystical and the magical, Shilpa deals with a lot more than what Ren had to deal with. And she had to make choices that were unbelievable. And being in a society where, you are dealing with interracial issues and dark
mhm.
skin with these blue eyes. It's not just the white community and the other communities. She had to deal with her own because she looks so different.
I see. So she's faced with the dilemma of where to fit in.
Kinda, because as a
Mhm,
child, She was an only child. She had parents that were only children as well. So there wasn't a lot of family when her parents died. And in the Black community, someone that looked like her was perceived as a child of the devil. She
Mm,
just looked odd and different, high cheekbones. So she kind of, and also children were cruel.
mhm.
Her eyes were just piercing. So she colored a lot. And she found that she was a pretty good artist from the time she was a child, and she became an artist. Actually, Shilpa means artist.
Oh,
Yeah, and that's
uh,
another word for artist.
Shilpa is a if it means artist, from what language was this name derived from?
I and don't quote me. I think it's Hinduism. I don't quote me on it, but
All
I
right.
did look it up at the time, and I research names all the time, like for all the books that I do. But Shilpa, it does mean art.
All right. Let's now talk about the theme of your book. So CC, while I was going through your book, obviously the first few pages that you'd come across would be the title and the table of contents. But there's this foreword, and I took a
Oh,
little bit of my time in reading it. And in that foreword, which was written by Denise Williams, she mentions that spirituality and moral decisions play a significant role in Shilpa's Blue Crayon. So, what inspired you to blend these themes into a mystery thriller format?
okay. So Denise is my family, as you know.
Mhm.
Denise and I, we're family, and she knows me very well. I don't like romance novels. I don't like romance movies. I told you that before. I never got into anything like this. I love thrillers from the golden age of Hollywood, like Maltese Falcon with Humphrey Bogart and Laura with Gene Tierney. And my favorite is Witness for the Prosecution with Tyrone Powell. Now, you're too young to know who these people are, but baby boomers and older, they know the writing back then at the beginning of the talkies was amazing when it came to mysteries. This was in the 1930s. Now, there were codes, and I'm glad you asked this question because I want to explain the mystery and the suspense and everything. There were codes back then. For instance, a man and a woman that shares a bedroom. They slept in separate beds on screen, and there was a table between them. They slept in what you call a twin beds. Or if the
Yeah.
man sat on the bed with his wife or any woman, one foot had to be on the floor at all times. But there was an insinuation that they were married, but very little was discussed about the intimacy. So when I started to write my suspense and my mysteries and all of that, it was easy to incorporate what people must have been thinking. There had to be more of a connection in these relationships that enhanced the storyline. So it was really easy to do because I love mysteries and I love suspense and I love courtroom drama.
Right.
Mhm.
It's a very nice subgenre when we talk about fiction books because it always puts you at the edge of your seat when you're reading it,
And
right?
that's what I try to do. I hope one day that someone says, Shilpa's Blue Crayon. Oh, that reminds me Laura, Jane Tierney, who starred in Laura, something like that, because I'm inspired by those kinds of genres. They call them noirs back then. I don't know if you know
Mm.
what that means, but let talk to an old person, they'll tell you. They were called noirs.
CC, let's now talk about family and friendship dynamics because in your book, this seemed to be central to Shilpa's journey. So can you share more about the
Yes.
relationships that shape her story and the
Okay.
challenges that she faces?
You find as you read that, she lost her parents when she was a freshman in college, and it
Mhm.
nearly destroyed her. But her friends became her family, and there are four central characters that gave her the strength and the perseverance that she needed because of protecting them. And those four central characters were four young women, two little girls. That's Anna, Ariel, and Sarah Blue. and Serena Ann. Those 4 young women is that's part those were the central part of her family orient for her, people that
Mhm.
she needed to protect. Then there was others in her community like Miss Romano and Winnie that were her friends. And that closeness, that bond that she had with those folks, that love that she had for those folks, that's what helped her persevere. Now, her husband that comes about, as you see in one world versus the other.
Mhm.
He was more like a person that questioned, what was happening with her. He loved her. He had the patience. He gave her the confidence. He had no jealousies, whereas she did. She wasn't like Ren. There's a difference between her and Ren. Ren was amazing. Everything she took head on. Shilpa wasn't that way. She had to find her way to get to that point. So family are friends, and friends are family with a very small circle that she has. She didn't trust many people because, her introversion,
Right.
because of being afraid, even
Yes.
men. And I have to mention this about the men that were in her life. She didn't trust them because she felt like either she was a novelty, because here's this Black woman with the blue eyes, or they didn't take her seriously, or she was too shy, that thought something was wrong with her. But it all settles out in the end. You'll see how the two worlds work together.
Now, there's this romance and emotional complexity in this book that you have written. And both, romance plays the role in your work. Often
Mhm.
it's interwoven with themes of spirituality. So, how does Us Blue Crayon expand on these ideas compared to Kevin and Catherine?
Well, with Kevin and Catherine, well, both of all of it is spiritual and God and all of that. Shilpa found herself in a world, two different worlds, but they were somehow connected. The love that she had in the other world, so to speak, is what was also a source of her strength. She had no way of knowing that they were connected in some way, which you will find out. It's kind of hard to explain without giving away how this all navigated. But I think that I had to explain it. Her closeness to Jacob and having that, knowing that she can go back to that at any point is what gave her the strength to continue what she was doing in the world where she had no one. And it was a mystical and magical situation, but it wasn't. It's, I wish I could say more, but I would give away so much. It was the most it's complex in a way, the way she navigated it, but it's not. Once you get to the end and you compare it to the beginning, but it's not. These two worlds are not. Both were a source of her strength.
Talking about these two worlds, because the novel transitions between two worlds, could you share more about this unique narrative structure and what it represents?
I can. In fact, can I read something to you to explain that? It has a lot to do with my own belief in God and how do I explain to people how important the magic of love, the spirituality of the connection to love with someone that you care deeply about enhances the physical. And when the physical is gone, what's left? You have that. And if I may, now this is what my grandfather told me. He used to say, it doesn't matter what road you choose to find your faith in God or a faith at all. You find the road that is best for you, and I hope it's not too bumpy along the way. And this is what I gathered from that because, as you know, I'm close to 70 years old.
Mhm.
I believe that our spirituality is a connection to consciousness and a sense of our purpose, meaning, and the fulfillment in our lives. It's our connection to the people that we love and the God that we carry within that keep that connection strong. Our spirituality is also something greater than ourselves. And we should appreciate what surrounds us, the people, the environment, the blue. I talk about the blueness of this world, all of that great meaning. And also, I believe our love and spiritual connection can build our inner strength,
Right.
make sense of experiences that we have, help us to behave better and ethically, persevere through challenges and defeats, bring us resiliency and strength, and can improve our quality of life. What you find in Shilpa, to me, that's most important is you find, of course, that spirituality and all that I just said, but also it delves deeper into multiculturalism, racism, and things like that, and how she explains passing for white, how she teaches the children that she's responsible for not to be turned off by someone that hates, but to understand why they hate and to help them learn that it's okay to be different and that we can learn from our differences. A friend of mine indicated to me the other day, actually, she's a family member. She said, if it wasn't for the sex, you could teach this book in school. The way she navigates those two worlds, you could teach this book in school. Because a lot of people forgot about the word passing. Right? Do you know what passing means? Passing for white. And what does that mean when you pass for white? Or do you even want to pass for white? Because the law says if you have 1/16 African American blood, whether you look like it or not, you're African American. So how are people dealing with issues like that? And I believe that with the research that was done for this book, it explains. So this book is really, really important when it comes to what Shilpa is dealing with. Now, the danger that she comes across has nothing to do with racism. It just has something to do with a bad man, and she'll get through it.
That's beautiful. CC, on the mystery and thriller aspect of your work, I'd like to know what challenges did you encounter in incorporating mystery and suspense into a story that also carries emotional and spiritual depth? Uh, you said a while back that you like mystery and thriller and suspense and never really like writing about love stories. So, what are the
Right.
challenges there?
It was a challenge at first, but like going back to the golden age of Hollywood, it mystery and suspense needed that part of it for people that wanted to know how do you get through all of this if you don't have a connection to someone. So it was easy to incorporate that because I felt like it was lacking in those stories, that connection between two people that care for each other. So I just had at it. I just
Mm,
put Kevin and Catherine, my thoughts of love, into this story of mystery and suspense. It wasn't hard at all. At least it wasn't for me at that point.
I'm glad that you felt that way. I was looking through some articles online. I was just reading through some articles and incorporating spirituality and emotions and love into a mystery and a thriller format or subgenre is not uncommon, but is considerably a niche. There are several books out there that were given as an example, and so that's the reason why I also wanted to ask you that
Oh,
question. I
I
al-
didn't know that. I thought that's
yeah,
good to know. I think because of the way the two worlds are going, that's where she pulls her strength to survive in one of the worlds is
mm,
because of what she had. That love, that romance, that respect, that security. And when she went off into the other world, and I can't wait for people to see how they collide, she had that, "Oh, well, I'll go back to that." But then, do you make a choice at some point? You can't live like this forever, so does she make a choice? Or how is that choice made for her? What happens? And that's where the surprise comes out in the end.
yeah, that's where the curiosity actually comes in. Because some of the examples I'm seeing online does cover spirituality in that mystery and thriller format or subgenre, but not much on love.
Yeah, yeah.
So, to me, at the very least, this what makes your work, Shilpa's Blue Crayon, somewhat unique. Because
Thank
again, it's
you.
according to the articles I've read, it's not uncommon, but it's a niche. So
Oh,
some
wow.
writers actually would blend that together to provide depth in the story that they're trying to to write about. But
But I have that's good to think. I do know that some of the feedback that I got on this one was the detail. I really did my hardest to put you right there in every situation. I mean, so that you keep turning the page or you turn back or you keep turning the page and you turn back. And I tell people
Mhm.
the very first chapter, the very first sentence, remember that very first sentence. It will help you when you get to the end. Go back to that very first sentence and I tried to describe colors and what you were wearing, even the designers. And when she looked left, she saw this. When she looked right, I really tried my best to be as detailed as I could so that you could see the colors that she saw, the clothes that she wore, the way she walked, the way he got out of the car. I remember there's one saying in the book when he saw his wife, he was meeting her somewhere and she was walking. She didn't see him, and he said, "She that sidewalk with every step that she took, and that the sidewalk was built for her to walk on." Just things like that and those long strides that she took. And when she
Mm.
turned, he could see those blue eyes of hers. So, I just tried to be as detailed as I could to make it enjoyable for the reader. And then the horrible scenes of danger and heartbreak. I get really emotional myself
Mm.
when she was looking for a cell phone to call the police and she couldn't find it and she had to deal with that situation. Every moment, every heartbeat that she was going through, I tried to describe it.
Now, well, let's talk about the writing process here. Uh, in our previous interview we had about Kevin and Catherine, it took you about 9 months to write. Now, how long
Yeah.
did it take you to complete Shill's Blue Crayon? And were there particular experiences or challenges that inspired or shaped the story?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, actually, when Kevin and Catherine went into editing at Archway, I was writing Shilpa's Blue Crayon. I started writing it then, but I was making notes in another file at the same time that I was writing Kevin. I had both of these books in my mind. So it took about 9 months the same. Kevin and Catherine came out in March of 2024. Shilpa came out in October of 2024. So it went, they were kind of together and I was just kind of finishing it up. But those two stories were swirling in my mind at the same time. And I kind of had to separate them and make sure that people knew that there was a difference between these two women,
Right.
total different women. Because so it came. That's how it came about. But it was about 9 months.
But how did you manage to do that? You were thinking about two books and you're writing one at that moment. How did you manage to separate it? Did you come across dilemmas like, oh, this is a very good scene that I want to go ahead and add into this book? But then again, when this could also be a very good scene that I can add to the other book. So, how did you manage to
They
separate
were
it completely?
I was two different people and they're totally separate books. I mean, when you read them, they are totally separate. I mean, they're romance and they're spicy. They're
Mhm.
set, but they're totally separate. So when I'm thinking about Shilpa, I'm thinking about just Shilpa.
Mm,
None of it seemed to collide in any way. It's just
right.
something would come to mind. Oh yeah, that goes in that book, and then it would go away for a while, and I'll finish up on Kevin and Catherine. But no, each one I was just like this. I couldn't write fast enough. Then
All right. All right.
Mhm.
So there are subtle similarities, but these two women are entirely different. That's good to know. I have another interesting question for you. So what emotions or thoughts do you hope readers will take away from Shilpa's Blue Crayon? If I'm one of your readers, what would you want me to take away from reading your book?
Well, I want people to take away how she found her strength, how she instinctively knew what to do when she didn't know what to do. And there's a reason for that. I want them to take away how the man that loved her was different from Kevin. Kevin could be jealous sometimes. And
Mhm.
he didn't know what to do with himself, although he was a great man. It wasn't overbearing. This other man, Jacob was never jealous. He was unwavering in his love for her. He called her out when he thought that things weren't right with her,
Mhm.
but he was always by her side from the very beginning. This man loved who she was. In fact, his nickname for her was Beautiful, and you'll see that in the book. And I also want people to look forward to how the worlds collide and how she ended up in those two worlds in the first place and found her way to where she needed to be. It's not always what you think it is. Things are deceiving. So, and then lastly, I want people to look at not the racial disparities that we have in this world, but how an individual family deals with raising interracial children and what they're teaching them and what you can learn from society and how you should navigate the multiculturalism that we deal with and how beautiful it can be to be different and learn from those differences.
I know we've mentioned this several times a couple of minutes back, but I just want to go ahead and expand on this a little before we talk about your future works and your plans. We've already mentioned that your book often carry a spiritual dimension that resonates deeply with readers.
Mhm.
Um, I'm very much curious, how do your personal beliefs and experiences shape these themes, especially in this book right now, Shilpa's Blue Crayon? I know you've mentioned this a while back, but let's just expand on
Yeah.
this.
I read to you a little quote from my grandfather and things
Right.
like that. But I I believe in God very much. I've been very blessed and I'm very grateful. Been married more than well over half my life to a
Mhm.
wonderful man. I have grandchildren. I have children. I have the best friends. No one's perfect or expected to be perfect. No life is perfect. But I feel like that I have something to share. I'm not a writer that has been through all these crazy things and horrible life, and I've come out of the other side. I've lived in my car, nothing like that. I wanted to write about what I believe the blessings of our lives are about. And I think that my blessings, so to speak, are something that I can share in these formats,
Mm.
in these works that I'm writing. And that's what is coming from it, from the heart. It can be spicy, but I've been married for a long time, so I know what spice is, but I just wanted to show people some other side. And I want people when they read it to feel all of that, to feel that passion, that intimacy, the respect that two people have for each other, the love that two people have for each other, the commitment, the desires, the touch, the freedom, the security, all of that. When they read that, I want them to see that possibility in a relationship, whether it happens for you or not. It's a
Mm.
feeling about it, knowing what that means when you read the book.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Cece. Now let's talk about your future
Oh,
works. You
okay.
you you hinted at the sequels and prequels in our last conversation. So does Shilpa's Blue Crayon tie into any future projects you're planning?
Yes, but let me go back to Kevin and Catherine for a second. There
Mhm.
is a prequel to that because the feedback that I've received is a lot of people did not want it to end that way. And there's a lot of movies and books you read. Why did it have to end that way? What could have possibly happened that they could make other decisions? Well, I'm going to delve into that because the truth of the matter in the Black community during that time, if a family gets together and puts a woman through law school, sacrifice, and do all of that for you, we keep everything within our community, we take care of each other. You're not going to marry a white guy. It's just not gonna happen. You're gonna marry this successful black guy over here. I don't care. This is what you're doing. We put everything into you. And that's where Rin was. She was loyal to her family, and she just could not break that expectation. Kevin, the girl next door, blonde, blue eyed, he's dealing with a white supremacist uncle. It was going to be rough on them at the time. So they made those decisions, and I have to expand on all of that. Shilpa's Blue Crayon, there will be a sequel in the first paragraph. The very first paragraph is going to be a doozy. And it's going to be 15 years into the future, and it's gonna be a doozy, and that'll from that first paragraph, it's gonna take Shilpa on a way roller coaster ride. But the book I'm working on right now is Yori and Johanna in
Mm.
3 days. I'm sorry, Yori and Johanna in 3 days. This couple, same thing with the blues, with the Kevin, mention of Kevin, Kevin Costner is mentioned in this book and the mention of Kevin and the whole thing. She's a writer of mysteries, suspense, and courtroom dramas, and this is more of who I am. This Yori character, and she's gonna go through it. But what happens in 3 days? This is still fiction, it's not my love story, but she will be more like me than any other character.
Will you be writing about your love story someday?
No, it's nothing to write. I'm boring. Remember, I've been married to this man my whole life. I'm boring. No, this is just fictional stuff. But I'm glad you mentioned that. I am gonna write the story of a friend of mine, family member. We talked about it. She's been through some a situation that no one should have to go through when it comes to the love of a man. And she's asked me to write this, change the names, and all of this. And she's asked me to write her story, and I said I would.
I bet that's going to be a fun book for you to complete, to write, work on. I can see that you are enjoying retirement.
I am, but I'm working a little bit, here and there, helping out. I'm helping out my communities, but I found my retirement thing. I'm loving it, Ray. I really am. I didn't know that I could be this kind of a writer, and I didn't absolutely didn't think I'd be any good at it. But people have given me confidence and support to keep going. I thought that Kevin and Catherine might be the only one. And then after Kevin and Catherine seemed to be, something people enjoyed, I went ahead and finished up Shilpa. And now here you are, Yori and Johan.
For
You
those who
are
are
such a
interested.
great interviewer. You are, for someone like me that's nervous about doing this kind of thing, you do such a great job.
Thank you for that, Cece. But I have to say that the level of participation that you've put into the preparation before we had this interview, that was really amazing. And kind of like appreciate the way you looked into some of the stuff that sent over to you. That
Mhm.
was really, really amazing. So I couldn't have done this well enough had it not been for obviously your input too. For those who are interested, where can they get a copy of your book? And if you have like, should I say gigs, stuff that you're going to do in promoting your book, where can interested parties reach you? They want to talk to you about your book. How will they contact you?
Well, I've been all over with show. I've had 3 major events in Atlanta, here in the Chicago area. I've been in Florida, California. So I've been all over, and I'm kind of relaxing a little bit. But I do have a website, cclane-author.com. But these books, if you Google them, you'll find them anywhere. I think most people purchase their books on Amazon. But
Mhm.
my publisher, Archway, has done a great job in promoting. So you can find it anywhere. And I as much as I love Kevin and Catherine, because that's my first love, I think this is a better book. I think this is a really good one because there's more of what I like to write about in there, the mystery and the suspense and the
Right.
danger. Those really
I truly believe that too. You only get better as you write your next book.
mhm.
And that's a wonderful thing to do. I'm praying and hoping that God will also give me similar opportunities. And if I get to your age, even that is, and I can see that there really is life after retirement.
Oh,
And
absolutely. The baby boomers, the children of the 60s and the 70s, young adults of the 60s and the 70s, we rock. We
you
absolutely
do.
rock. We do not stop. I mean, you're talking about the age of Aquarius, the cosmic generation. We rock. So we don't stop after a certain age. We
You do.
continue.
And your generation paved the way for other generations too.
We can.
Right. Finally, I'd like to, well, what message do you have for readers who are diving into Shilpa's Blue Crayon for the first time? What should they look forward to as we close this interview?
I think they will just with Kevin and Catherine, that roller coaster ride, this is going to be a roller coaster ride. It's gonna be tough to get through some of the passages, I believe. And I found myself that when I'm writing, I get emotional. It's not just a story of writing. It is an emotional roller coaster for me as well. And I have to stop. So if I'm writing it and I have to stop to compose myself, the reader I expect will be the same way. At least that's the feedback that I'm getting. I had one lady tell me one time with Kevin and Catherine, and then she read this book as well. She says, Val, I didn't like your books at all. I says, oh, I'm so sorry. Well, what didn't you like about it? She said, I didn't like them. I loved them. I
But
loved them. I just absolutely loved them. I said, "Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you." But I will find not everybody will like. I have people that's I didn't like it so much. I don't like romance novels, what have you. But that's okay. But the people that enjoy it, that's fine. That's great. It makes me feel good.
Cece, it was a pleasure having
Thank
you on the show
you,
again.
and same here. Same here.
Thank you so much for discussing your book with us. It's amazing to talk to you again.
I hope to talk to you again when Yori and Johannes comes out. I hope
Right.
to talk to you again. But by
Let's
that
have it.
time, you'll be hosting CNN, but that's okay. Uh-huh.
I wish. I wish. That's a long shot. Thank you so much, and I hope and pray for your success.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you.
I can really see that you're enjoying the life that you have right now. But Cece, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Again, hope to get to chat with you in the future. I also want to give a big shout out to our awesome viewers and listeners for joining us for this interview. Stay tuned for more inspiring conversations on the Book Connection Show. I'm Ray Walters. Join me next time as we explore the world of self supported publishing, one indie author at a time.